Guys, breaking news, an ETF is coming to Solana this Wednesday. We've been waiting for ages. It's finally coming, and it's going to have staking. It's going to be the first ETF that has staking. And what do we know about smart money? What do we know about institutions, funds? They love staking. They love it. It's one of their favorite things, especially if the yields are quite high. So it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be very difficult now because there's an ETF, and I'm going to talk about that. You guys already know I'm a Solana maxi, right? And I've fudded ETH enough. I'm not going to fud it too much more. I still think it's terrible. I think it's slow, expensive, and I don't think retail are going to adopt it. And also the upgrades that they proposed are not solving the solutions for retail either. Even like 2-3 years down the line, the upgrades do not solve the issue of fees and speed. Solana has already proved itself, right? It done over 9 million in active addresses, and look at Ethereum. It didn't even push over 1 million this cycle, and it's like Solana is doing a 20 or done a 20x at its peak in active users. So I'm going to go where the people are. It doesn't make sense to me to invest in a chain where not only is no one really using it, but no one might never use it really, right? Retail might never not use Ethereum. They might just go to the cheaper and faster chain. That doesn't seem like rocket science to me. It seems like the obvious choice. So I'm Solana maxi. If there is an ETF, I want to be on board. The difference between the Solana ETF and the Grayscale ETF, the Ethereum ETF, is that the reason Ethereum dumped on launch of the ETF is because Grayscale had so much Ethereum, and they got in early, and they had all of this Ethereum that a lot of their holders were in massive profits. And I said, I'm going to short the ETF. I'm actually going to short it. There was two elements here. It was a news event, right? So it was a massive news event that everyone had been waiting for. And then you had a bunch of holders, and it was not a small change. I think it was around $10 billion was held in the Grayscale trust, which was now sellable, right? It was a trust, so it wasn't sellable before, but it was now sellable. And all of these people had been sitting on all of these gains and profits for so long that they couldn't sell. And now all of a sudden they could dump on the market. And hey, most people were acting as exit liquidity, right? Just buying up their tokens that Grayscale was selling. And then we saw the price tank. That's why I shorted the ETF. Now, I don't want you guys to get confused thinking, are you going to short the Solana ETF? Because no, Grayscale don't have $10 billion worth of Solana. They don't even have $500 million of Solana. I think they have around $7 or $10 million worth, which is laughable, right? You probably wouldn't even notice that be diluted into the market cap if we saw a sell on the ETF launch. So very different situation to the Grayscale ETF, okay? It's not an easy play. I mean, you guys know I've been in Solana since the bear market. We bought it. I put a buy alert in my Discord around $23.94. So congratulations if you took that. We've already taken some profits, or I've already taken some profits from this. I took some profits here around 190, and then I took some more profits at 250. I have a moon bag left, and I wasn't going to sell it until the Bitcoin broke its bull run trend line, right? It's still on its bull run trend line. And Solana looks very similar to what happened last cycle. We had a buy alert from the SMC bot. The price was around $2. When we had a buy alert, it went all the way up to $260. Amazing rally, over 100x. And then we had this sell signal from the SMC bot here, and we went into this horrible bear market, and the price went from $260 all the way down to $8, right? We know bear markets are horrendous. They're absolutely disgusting. And then we started to buy. I think we bought around here, around when we had the buy signal from the SMC bot, around $23. And the rest is history. We had a really good cycle again on Solana. I didn't buy this down here, guys. I wish I did. I got into crypto a little bit later. I did trade Solana, but I was not in the bear market last cycle. So we bought down here, and then massive rally and took profits into the rallies. But how similar does it look to the previous cycle, right? Bull run, dump, relief rally, bear market, bull run, dump, relief rally. Now, technically, you would expect the market to go into a bear market. And not only that, it looks very, very similar because we're having these sell signals flash up. We are rejecting from the SMC moving average, which is, support on the way up, right? We long on the way up. We long the support. And then on the way down, when you break it, it becomes resistance. And the question is now, is this going to become resistance? Now, I have a moon bag and we now have an ETF. And what do we know about Solana? The market cap is like 3 times smaller than Ethereum. It's better than Ethereum. In my opinion, it's faster, it's cheaper. We can clearly see that retail understand it more than they do Ethereum because it 20x'd the activity. And we saw a huge retail adoption. The president of the United States even launched a token on the chain, right? Let's not forget what's happened this cycle. We've seen so many things happen that we've become desensitized to the reality of it. And the president launched an altcoin on Solana. And in 3 days, we have a Solana ETF, okay? So I'm not going to be too greedy here. You can be greedy you can be greedy on the way up and you can be greedy on the way down. Even though I do think we are going to have a bear market very, very soon. What if I'm wrong, right? What's my backup plan if I'm wrong? What happens if the inflows of this ETF surprise everybody and all of a sudden Solana is $400 and I was debating whether to hold my moon bag at 157? I am going to hold my moon bag. Why? Because I've already won. I bought the bear market. I sold into the pumps, into the bull run. I sold, I think, 70%, maybe around 70% of my portfolio. I've already won. I made a colossal amount of money because Solana was my biggest bag this cycle. It's where I put most of my money. And I've won a lot of money, and I'm happy with the gains I've made. And I do think that even if we do go into a bear market and we see lackluster ETF inflows, I am holding Solana long term, and I do think it's going to be one of the main retail chains that we see over the next cycle as well. And there's an ETF now as well. So we're going to see institutional inflows maybe in the bear market. If we do go into bear market, it's not just retail buy now. We can see serious institutional money coming in, and there's staking, and there's all sorts of possibilities for Solana to become the Ethereum, right? It's not quite the Ethereum in terms of institutional. That's the one good thing that if ETH does have going for it. There's a lot of institutional interest. There's a lot of institutional money. And if Solana can capture that audience and capture that market and keep working on the chain, right? We've got this Fire Dancer upgrade. It's going up to 1 million transactions per second. If they can keep upgrading, keep working, keep focusing on decentralization and trying to capture that institutional market, they've already got the retail, right? So then they just need that institutional, and who knows, right? Who knows? And I don't really want to be too greedy trying to buy Solana because I'm only trying to buy it at $50 and it's what, $150 at the moment. So, I'm only trying to buy. And if I do hold my moon bag, and we do go into a bear market, who cares, right? Because I've already sold a lot and I'm ready to buy the dip, right? I've preserved capital to buy the dip. And if we do rally and skyrocket from here, then, my moon bag is eventually going to become serious cash. Well, if I'm holding 30% in a moon bag, it only has to do a 3x and, it's back up to a full position again, right? A full size. So yeah, and we're also down from 300, right? So we are still at a 50% discount. I think we sold our 250. We sold around 250, and it did push up to 300. We've traded this all the way down. We shorted all the way down. We took a long at 102. I've made some gains just trading the moves. And I do think we are going to see a lot of ETF inflows, and I do think it's going to be quite quiet, guys. I think that you're not going to see a lot of hype around this from the institutions and the whales, because if they do want to load up heavy on Ethereum, and if they are going to really start to compete when this is approved, it's going to happen very fast, and they don't want everyone to front run them. They don't want everyone buying the hype and the euphoria. They want it to be as quiet as possible, and then you might see aggressive buy-in from the ETF, and we'll know then. We'll know as soon as this ETF is launched, we're going to know whether there is serious institutional interest, because if there's not, the inflows are going to be terrible. You're either going to see explosive inflows immediately, or you're going to see no interest, right? Because we know Grayscale don't have 10 billion or 1 billion or even 500 million to sell on launch. It's not going to be like other ETFs. And there might be people who are hesitant because they think it's going to be like the ETH ETF, but it actually turns out very, very different. So it's going to be an interesting week. Obviously, this is just going to be one ETF. I don't know how many more ETFs are getting rolled out on Wednesday. But yeah, this is just the start, right? We've got loads of people applying for the ETF, so there's going to be more ETFs rolled out. There's going to be a lot of interest in this, a lot of institutional money, and Solana to me is a long-term hold. We're seeing massive adoption in crypto. There's only going to be more adoption as more and more governments get on board, and I wouldn't do this with many altcoins. Like I've sold a lot of my high risk altcoins. When we're talking about layer ones, they're one of the most performing sectors in crypto. I love layer ones. Casper was where most of my gains were made. Last cycle, Matic, BNB, Cardano were where that was actually most of my portfolio. Last cycle was BNB, Cardano, ADA, and Matic. Sold them all, right? I didn't get into them this cycle. I sold them all, and layer ones and layers have been really good runners, and for good reason, right? They have network effect. When you have a chain that gains adoption or has like a trend, for example, meme coins really took off. Look what happens to active users. It goes through the roof. And smart money and institutions love this kind of data. They look at this and they're like, right, we can actually see where people are going. There's three main chains, Base, Ethereum, Solana, and clearly Solana is the leader. Let's actually go and build some DeFi apps on Solana. Let's build some institutional apps on Solana. Let's try and work out how we can get more people onto Solana. Let's try and migrate into TradFi, right? Into PayPal. Can we integrate with PayPal? Can we integrate with MasterCard? We are seeing fintech start into really be ingrained into TradFi, and I think that Solana is in a prime position. And now we have the ETF. The beautiful thing about these ETFs, guys, is there's only going to be so many ETFs. So if you think about when crypto started, there was really only like BTC, and then there was a few other altcoins, and then it went to Litecoin and Ethereum emerged. There wasn't really that much to choose from, and then all of the inflows would go into these new coins, right? Because there really wasn't that many to choose from. So think about all the institutional investors who do want exposure to crypto. They're only going to have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana for now, right? So if these ETFs, they're kind of minimal going into next cycle, what do you think are going to be the biggest runners going into next cycle? Hey, maybe even Ethereum does well if it can fix itself, because Grayscale have actually finally dumped a lot of their Ethereum on the market, and it was like $10 billion. It was insane. So I'm probably not going to buy ETH because I'm not going to invest in something that's slow and expensive. It's like investing in hotels when Airbnb just emerged, or investing in taxi companies when Uber just emerged. It doesn't make sense to me. So I think if there's only going to be a handful of ETFs, and Solana is ahead of the competition in terms of speed and adoption, why wouldn't Solana have insane inflows going into next cycle if it can continue its growth? Guys, none of the information in this video is financial advice. Do your own research. Investing in crypto is highly risky. You can lose all of your money investing in anything, and especially crypto. If you want to follow us and you want to get involved, and maybe you want these indicators on your own trading view, see where you get these buy and sell indicators pop up. This is called the SMC bot. Maybe you want these on your own your own trading view. Look at this as well. Really, really cool. You see this green legend down here where it says uptrend. This has nailed so many bottoms. Look where it flashed green. It flashed green on Solana at $12 and $13. I didn't have this new version. This is a new version we've built. I didn't have this new version back then, but I've gone back through so many tokens and it's absolutely nailed so many bottoms. Even this S&P crash, it's nailed on the weekly. So yeah, it's really, really cool, and I wish I had this back then, because obviously I would have bought $12 and I ended up buying at 23, so I didn't miss the boat. But yeah, really, really cool indicator. And if you want to get this inside your own trading views, head over to the X. So head over to my X account, and you can see here is the name of the account on Twitter. And here's a link to join. So if you want to join us, click the link, head over to the Patreon, and you can see all of our buy and sell alerts. You can see my portfolio. You can see loads of stuff going on in the Discord. We've got professional leverage trader in there who's doing leverage trades, and you get the SMC bot for free with the Discord membership as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of these videos. Until then, I will catch you guys in the next one.